Elizabeth Moody.
And I'm Lorenzo Davila.
And we're both just very happy to be here with you, and we'd like to thank everybody that came out to watch our presentation today. We're both very grateful that we could be at the conference today, and we want to start by thanking everybody that could really come out to watch this in the midst of a pandemic. It's very crazy times, as everyone knows, and it's really awesome that we could even have a conference in the midst of everything going on. So thank you to everyone that was able to put together this conference. It's really amazing that we have this chance to be here today. Today we'll be presenting a presentation called Why Fly Alone? The life lessons of two long-standing wingmen.
Yes, we really hope you guys enjoy. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in chat. We're going to have a 10 to 15 minute Q&A after it's all done and answer all your questions. Okay, so this is where it all started. Where we first met was all the way back in 2010 at the ACE Academy, the Aviation Career Education Academy. So this was basically a summer camp for middle school students, and this basically introduced everyone into the whole world of aviation. And so at this camp, it lasted about a week, and we did everything from learning about flight and the aviation history. We experimented with different models of flights, such as rockets, and at the very end, we even got the chance to fly a real plane, which was really cool. And it was very educational and taught us about all the different jobs in the aviation field.
Yeah, it certainly was amazing. But after ACE Academy, we actually followed each other to the same high school, and we stayed friends, which was really amazing. We, later on in our friendship, both decided to join the Civil Air Patrol, where we are actually going to show you some of our time and what we did in Civil Air Patrol together. So as you all know, there are many different things that you can do in CAP. We decided to take full advantage of everything that you could do together. And so some of the things that we did, you can see here that at the Sugar Valley SARX in 2015, it was a opportunity where we got to do joint exercise with the city and actually take advantage of some moulage wilderness advanced first aid that they had there. On the right, you can actually see Lorenzo's very first PT test at our home squadron of 082. On the bottom left, you can see when I was the first sergeant of our home squadron, I was actually able to find this photo of me giving him his staff sergeant promotion. And also on the bottom right, just a very old photo, again, of us in our BDUs, a very original photo of our squadron taking part in an exercise at Winston-Salem Airport in 2014.
All right, and so not only did we every week go to all of our squadron meetings, but also we participated a lot together outside the squadron. So here you can see two different pictures from our squadron's dining out ceremony, where me and some of my friends participated in the drilling ceremonies, and we handed out awards and ate great food. Also, we met up at the airport, Smith Reynolds Airport, which is right next to where our squadron was. And we got together in the freezing rain and washed one of our very own planes, which was just a great experience. And if you look down at this picture here at the bottom, you can see me at the front left of this element. This was a Drill and Ceremonies Academy at Burlington, the headquarters, and you can see our Flight Sergeant Elizabeth Moody right here leading us all.
The Civil Air Patrol allows for a lot of extracurricular activities to take place. The opportunities that we did included not just sponsored ones by the Civil Air Patrol, but also taking place in a lot of the not sponsored ones as well. We loved to learn about rope rescue skills, and so as much as we could, we actually went up to the mountains in North Carolina, up to Hanging Rock, Pilot Mountain, along with some of our other friends. You know who you are if you're here today. And all the time we were just practicing our skills, definitely not sponsored by the Civil Air Patrol at all, but we had a lot of fun in the skills that we learned from the Civil Air Patrol, just being outdoors. On the left, though, you can see the skills that I did learn in our National Cadet Special Activities. I got the awesome, amazing opportunity to spend time with the pararescuemen at PJOC in a summer special activity with the Civil Air Patrol. One of the best, most life-changing activities I've ever done in my entire life.
So if you fast forward all the way to 2018 and 2019, as you can see here, the biggest thing that kept us together was our shared interest in aviation, travel, and adventure. So every time, whenever possible, whenever we were traveling, we would always make it a point to meet up in the airports, as you can see here.
So, as you can see here, I definitely love airplanes. I have always made it a point to go to air shows and take every opportunity I can possibly find to pose in front of an airplane. All the way from 2015 to 2020, I found these 4 shots, but definitely not limited to these, of me posing in front of and inside of airplanes. I can definitely say that I have a passion and intense desire or enthusiasm for aviation.
And as you can tell, the same goes for me. This is one of the first pictures I took when I got my first job in aviation. And, you know, like I quoted here, it was day one of quite a unique lifestyle. Also, you can see one of the many times that I spent flying at the airport with one of my flight instructors. And then some of the pictures that we had from traveling. On top is me in France, and then on the bottom is me in Italy. And there's hundreds more.
This is an example of what we do in our jobs, which is called Loadmasters. That's what we're going to get into in a moment. Back in the day, we did weight and balance by hand on paper like this. And it's basically just an example of how we calculated our numbers to balance the aircraft so it can pitch right, roll right. Everything needs to be balanced before you take off and when you land for the pilots. And it basically just needs to make sure that everything is good and the numbers match up to what you're given by the people on the ramp, right?
Yes, and certainly it's a lot easier to do this through the computer. However, my first check ride when I was to get certified as a Loadmaster, of course all the technology failed, so I had to rely on my skills to be able to do this on paper. And this is an example of what it looked like.
Certainly not the best of situations, but it's really good to know how to do it by hand so you can make sure everything checks out. So this is our original Loadmaster classes. My graduating class on the left.
And mine on the right.
Yeah. Certainly good memories to be seen here.
Yes.
And some of the most reliable people, I would trust these people with my life.
Literally.
So Loadmasters.
What exactly do we do?
That's a really good question.
Whatever it takes to get the plane off the ground. And that is just it. We had to learn to adapt on the fly to a number of situations. And these were the kind of things that they couldn't cover in just a 2-week training. As intense as it was, they could have never prepared us for everything that we would see. But the one thing that they did prepare us for was to be able to adapt and get the plane off the ground.
So here's some photos of what exactly we do as Loadmasters. And as you can see, this doesn't look like the numbers that we just showed you on the weight and balance. That is pretty much like 2% of our entire job.
Yes.
We do the numbers. People give us numbers, the paperwork, we fill it out, we give it to the pilots. And that's the easy part. But really what they don't tell you when you sign up for the job as a Loadmaster is that you're going to be filling trash bags full of trash by yourself, as you can see in the middle here, in the middle of a snowstorm, in order to make sure that the plane is clean. Or
untangling a huge pallet that is covered with ropes and reassembling it to where it's going to be safe to travel again.
Yeah. Sometimes they make you take every single bag off the airplane just to ensure that for whatever reason there's not a random bomb on the plane, because that's important.
It is a real threat.
You know, sometimes a slide will pop. And this one in particular was just because we had a flight attendant that got a little scared, even though it's their job to not be scared. We had a flight attendant get scared.
These things happen, and hopefully this is the only time you ever see the slide pop on an aircraft. And I hope it's the only time I see it.
Right. But then there are good parts of the job. This bottom right photo, we in particular worked with an airline that allowed us to take a lot of military flights for the DoD. We took them overseas, took them back home, and we got to see a lot of flights where they came home and saw the color guard greet them when they came home.
Yes, the coming home ceremonies is possibly one of my favorite part of the jobs. I would say definitely my favorite part of the job.
Yeah, why we do what we do.
Yes.
And, you know, what we do comes with its perks, but it also comes with some...
Its downsides. So this might be my least favorite part of the job. Along the theme of adapting with different situations, this is essentially some of the many situations we had to sleep in. So a lot of people ask, well, you're always traveling, you've been flying for the last 3 days, where do you sleep? Well, on the plane. So these are some examples of the different ways that we would build forts or rearrange pillows and, you know, improvise ways to be comfortable and sleep, because sitting in your plane chair is not comfortable. So we had to find a way to make it work. And we were very creative in doing so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can see that the airline pillows they give you, they aren't exactly the fluffiest, but, you know, you definitely can make it work when you have to live on an airplane. So it's nice. Some of the seats are better than others, though.
Yes.
That's definitely true. Along that same line of thought, with all the highs and the lows, we have lots of highs.
Yes.
The places we've been are indescribable, wouldn't you say?
I would agree.
Yeah. This job has provided us so many opportunities to travel. I personally have been to over 40 countries, and I'm not sure if you've kept a count.
I haven't, but I wish I had. But what I do have at home is a map where it's almost where you can scratch off every country you've been to. And I wish I had it here to show you, but it's been a lot. Mm-hmm. We've been everywhere.
It's really amazing. So just a little snapshot in the next few slides of some of the places that we've been personally. All of these were taken outside of the airplane window in different areas of the world. So Nassau, Bahamas, starting at the top left, to Kuwait, Rota, Spain, Anchorage, Alaska, the Pacific Ocean, and Costa Rica.
My personal favorite.
Mine too. All of these next three were taken outside of hotel balconies. Just some of the things that you can see even on a short layover. Hotel balconies can actually provide you some beautiful views. So this one was taken in Guam, one of my favorite layovers to date.
Yes.
Naples, Italy, you can see a beautiful view of the volcano, yes, right from outside your hotel. And Tokyo, Japan, just a gorgeous view of the river here.
Absolutely. So, if you remember earlier, like I said, with our graduating classes and we trust them with our lives, this was taken very literally. Our job was very important, and sometimes I would have to rely on the math that other people did on a previous flight. So we literally relied on every single person at every stop. So all the flight attendants, the pilots, all of our teammates, everyone together, we had to rely on each other just like a family. Yeah. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Without one link in the chain, it would all collapse. You need everyone there. And so, I mean, that kind of leads us into some lessons that we've learned from our time on the road. We kind of put together a couple of lessons that we'd like you all to try to maybe take some notes on. Lessons that we think are very important related to aviation, yes, and there's 4 of them for you. So feel free to take notes on these, maybe apply them to your life. Hopefully you learned something here. Lesson number 1. The destination of people on an airplane is usually always the same. They're all going to the same place. You know how when you board an airplane, people always rush to board a plane on really fast? They might sit in different classes like first or business or economy, but they all really end up in the same destination. And the same applies to life. We're all headed towards one direction at the end of life. But among us, we breathe the same air. You may be fortunate enough to sit in first class, but without the pilot to fly the plane or the flight attendant to serve you, the system just wouldn't work. The same without your comfort and your safety, it would be compromised. Remember to treat the people beside you with dignity and respect along the way. And no matter where you fit in with the social classes, remember to keep this in mind.
Lesson number 2, be the captain of your own life. There's a big difference between being a captain and being a passenger that is just watching from the back and hoping that everything will be okay. Every aircraft has a nominated or earned senior pilot in command, the captain. With good practice and mindful living, you have the opportunity to be the captain of your own life.
Before a pilot takes off for any flight, they have a flight plan. They know exactly what course they'll take to get to their desired destination. They check and double check all their equipment, read their weather charts, and make sure that their crew is ready and briefed. Despite all this careful planning, the airplane can still experience unexpected turbulence in flight and require adjustments. And so is life. No matter how well you organize and plan your life, you will still need to adjust and make changes to suit situations that are beyond your control. Be ready to adjust to changes even after you've carefully planned your route.
All right, ready. Lesson number 4. Now for this one, can I actually just briefly ask that you take a moment, close your eyes, and recall a time when something went terribly wrong in your life. Now it might have been a time where you did something wrong and it might have blown up in your face, or maybe it's when something unpreventable happened but it caused you some pain. So our final lesson, what happens when things go catastrophically wrong and there's no turning back? When a plane crashes, we don't like to talk about it, but it does happen. And when it does, it serves as our biggest teaching moments. The National Transportation Safety Board and the FAA do extensive investigations through the wreckage to find out what went wrong. When we make serious mistakes in life, because we will, we have to pick ourselves back up instead of hiding from the pain, and use it as a teaching moment for ourselves to find out where we went wrong and make sure that it doesn't happen again.
You know, the Air Force and the Civil Air Patrol both have a rich history of wingmanship in their culture.
Yes. So what exactly is a wingman? It is commitment. So you have to stay committed. And also, remember the core values of Civil Air Patrol. Integrity first, volunteer service, excellence in all you do, and respect. As well as communication. You have to communicate all the time, no matter how crazy things get. That's what gets us through these sticky situations. So we always make sure to communicate. And finally, the Civil Air Patrol and the Air Force both have a long-standing history of wingmanship.
They certainly do. You know, we say a lot that it's important to be a good wingman, but have any of you ever actually sat down to think about what that means at its core? It may feel obvious to many of you, but have any of you leaders out there ever actually looked at where the word comes from? What were the P-47s and the P-51s and the P-38s who escorted the B-17s in World War II? What were they?
They were wingmen.
They were wingmen. And why were they escorting them? It's because they were having a hard time and their attrition rate was really high, meaning that they were losing a lot of planes during the daytime bombing missions in Germany. And when we put the fighters at their wings, we actually found out that they had to stop worrying so much about the German fighters. And when we did that, the attrition rate actually went down, and the bombers were able to more successfully complete their missions.
So it's clearly important. So the real question is, how can we be good wingmen? First, never lose sight of the mission, okay? You have to have a wingman in your life to keep each other accountable. So sometimes it's easy to get astray from what your goals are, but it's important to have someone to keep you accountable to make sure that you're always doing what you said was important to you. Also, always have your wingman's back, even when they say they don't need it. So thanks. And also, you have to always be able to rely on your wingman without having to ask. This is key.
Absolutely, I agree. And just some final tips. Utilize the resources that the Civil Air Patrol offers. Without Civil Air Patrol, we would have never been able to get the jobs that we got. Civil Air Patrol offered us so many opportunities, and it was resume boosting for both of us.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Networking played a huge part in getting the jobs that we had. And so if we weren't interested in aviation from such a young age, it would have been a lot harder to be in a position like this. So make sure you're shaking hands with the people who are doing things that you want to do. Networking is key.
And finally, reach out to your wingman for help when you need it. Never feel like you are alone. The Civil Air Patrol is a huge network with so many people at your disposal. If you feel like you don't have somebody beside you, I promise you, you do. Lorenzo and I were fortunate enough to always have each other, and he was always there when I needed him by my side. So reach out to your wingmen when you need them.
Absolutely.
We really hope you enjoyed our presentation today. Thank you all for joining us, and we really hope that you learned something. If you have any questions, drop them here in the chat, and we'll be here for the FAQ.
Thank you so much.